Welcome to HistoryFlix English. We are jumping right into this explainer on what is, honestly, humanity's most foundational technological leap. We're looking at the literal spark that changed the whole shebang, elevating our ancestors from merely surviving the day to actually laying the groundwork for complex society. It's the incredible story of how we went from being prey to becoming pioneers. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever really imagined what everyday life would be like without fire? I mean, think about a harsh, deeply unpredictable, and just terrifying world. There would be absolutely no hot meals waiting for you at the end of the day. Picture the pitch blackness settling in with zero light after sunset, leaving you completely vulnerable in the dark. Think about having no warmth during those freezing, brutal winters, and no safe way to keep dangerous predators away when you try to sleep. Long before cities, machines, or even the concept of farming existed, this severe, sun-dictated reality was just everyday life for early humans. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark sensory contrast between that existence and what came next. On one side, you have our ancestors' early reality, right? Cold, deeply dangerous, and dictated entirely by the rising and setting of the sun. You were completely at the mercy of the elements. But on the other side, you have the post-fire world, suddenly filled with radiant warmth, protective light that pierced the night, and the comfort of cooked food. It is quite literally the difference between night and day. This singular shift completely transformed early humans, giving them a monumental advantage in an otherwise unforgiving environment. But, how did we actually cross that massive divide? Well, fire wasn't invented in a workshop like modern technology. It was discovered in the wild. And for a very long time, early humans were absolutely terrified of it, and for good reason. They didn't see it as a helpful tool. They only knew fire as this chaotic, devastating force of destruction. They encountered it during terrifying natural events, like when lightning violently struck a dry tree, or when massive wildfires swept across the plains, or during cataclysmic volcanic eruptions. It was a fierce, uncontrollable monster long before it became our most vital tool for survival. Let's move and see how this builds, because to change their fate, our ancestors went on an absolutely incredible problem-solving journey. First, they had to overcome their deep-seated instinctual fear and realize that this destructive force could actually be captured and controlled. Step one was simply snatching it from nature, bravely carrying burning branches back to their camps before the embers died out. Step two was the incredibly delicate round-the-clock task of feeding and keeping those captured flames alive for as long as possible. And finally, step three, the ultimate breakthrough, learning how to create fire themselves. By mastering friction between dry sticks or striking specific stones together to produce sparks, humanity could suddenly summon this immense power entirely on demand. Once they could summon and control it, fire triggered a massive biological upgrade. Let's look at the immediate benefits, because they changed our evolutionary trajectory. Take cooking food, for instance. It didn't just make it safer to eat by killing off bacteria, it essentially pre-digested the calories. By outsourcing our digestion to the fire, we freed up massive amounts of biological energy. Our bodies no longer had to work so incredibly hard to process raw meat and tough plants, and instead, that surplus energy could be used to power larger, more complex brains. On top of that, the flame provided crucial warmth during freezing nights, allowing humans to migrate and survive in much harsher climates across the globe. It lit up the darkness, extending the waking day past sunset, and perhaps most comfortingly, it acted as a glowing, crackling shield, keeping wild animals safely away so early humans could finally enjoy deep, peaceful, restorative sleep. Beyond our biology, though, fire triggered a monumental social and cultural leap. Think about this powerful idea from our sources. Around the fire, people gathered to talk, tell stories, and pass knowledge from one generation to the next. The glowing hearth effectively became humanity's original social network. Because the darkness was safely pushed back and the predators were kept at bay, humans finally had the unprecedented luxury of time. They had the safety to sit together, bond, communicate, and actively transfer wisdom. Community, complex culture, language development, and shared history as we know it were all truly born right there, sitting in a circle around the campfire. And this brilliantly illustrates the march of progress. That simple, controlled flame laid the exact foundational blueprint for every single technological era that followed. As time passed, fire helped early humans harden and create much stronger tools for hunting and building. In later eras, it allowed them to bake pottery for storing food and produce bricks to build permanent structures and homes. Then came the incredible subsequent ages, where intense, concentrated heat was used to melt and forge metals like copper and iron. That specific mastery laid the groundwork for entire villages, expansive cities, and vast global civilizations. And right through to the modern day, we still fundamentally rely on controlled combustion. It's the exact same core principle we use to cook our meals, generate our energy, and support massive modern industries all over the planet. So the crucial point is that few discoveries have ever had such a profound, rippling impact on human history. The ability to control fire was so much more than just a basic survival skill to keep the cold away. It was the definitive catalyst for everything we are today. It marked the very beginning of humanity's long, incredible journey toward complex civilization. By mastering the flame, we took the most crucial step in our evolution. We went from merely surviving the natural world to actively shaping it to our will. Which brings us to a final thought I want to leave you with as we wrap up this explainer. If the mastery of fire changed the world forever, where would humanity be today without that very first brave spark? It is absolutely fascinating to ponder how a single natural discovery, born out of utter chaos and fear, entirely shaped the course of human history. Thank you for joining me for this dive into our past, and never stop questioning the origins of the incredible world around you.